1. Let's talk about this sweet 1978 Chevy El Camino that's up for grabs at $14,500. This bad boy is a real gem for anyone looking to score a classic muscle car with some serious attitude. Now, let's be real here. This El Camino isn't perfect, but that's part of its charm. The seller's honest about it needing some TLC in the paint and body department, but don't let that scare you off. It's still a solid ride that's begging for some love from a true gearhead. Under the hood, you've got a beefy 350 V8 that's been souped up with an Edelbrock carb, hooker headers, and a custom exhaust. This thing's got some serious muscle and sounds like a dream. The transmission's been recently rebuilt, and it's got a fresh posy traction rear end, perfect for laying down some rubber. Inside, it's mostly complete, just missing a headliner. But get this, the seller's throwing in a brand new carpet kit that's just waiting to be installed. Talk about a bonus. Now let's talk about those wheels. Chrome Craigslist torque thrusters with oversized rear tires give this El Camino that classic 70s street machine look. Sure, it messes with the speedo, but who cares when you're cruising in style? Look, this El Camino isn't going to win any concours shows as is, but it's a killer project for someone who wants a fun weekend cruiser with tons of potential. It's got a clean title, starts reliably, and is just a few tweaks away from collector plate status. For $14,500, you're getting a piece of American muscle car history that's ready to rumble. If you're serious about classic cars and aren't afraid of a little elbow grease, this El Camino could be your ticket to burnout heaven. Don't sleep on this one, folks. Cars like this don't come around every day. 2. Let's talk about this absolute gem of a 1979 Oldsmobile Toronado that's up for grabs at $15,000. This isn't just any old car, we're looking at a piece of automotive history that's been loved and cared for. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The seller claims this Toronado is in excellent condition, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. With only 79,900 miles on the clock, this big yellow beauty has clearly been pampered. It's sporting that classic 350 V8 engine, which means you've got plenty of power under that long, stylish hood. One of the coolest things about the Toronado is its front-wheel drive setup. Pretty innovative for its time, especially in a full-size luxury coupe. And speaking of luxury, check out those pillow seats. You'll feel like you're cruising on a cloud. The sellers put some work into this ride, and it shows. The AC is blowing cold, a huge plus for a car of this vintage. That electric sunroof? It's ready for those perfect summer cruises. And those new rims and tires aren't just for show, they'll keep you rolling smooth. Now, I know $15,000 might seem steep for a 40-plus-year-old car, but this Toronado isn't your average classic. It's a turnkey cruiser that's ready to hit the road. The seller says there are too numerous repairs to list, which tells me they've really put the time and money into keeping this beauty in top shape. Look, if you're in the market for a unique, head-turning classic that combines luxury, style, and that unmistakable 70s flair, this Toronado deserves your attention. It's not often you find one of these in such great condition. Just imagine pulling up to your local cruise night in this bad boy. You'll be the talk of the town. Remember, cars like this are more than just transportation. They're rolling time capsules. This Toronado is a chance to own a piece of automotive history that you can actually drive and enjoy. So if you've got the means and you're looking for something special, don't sleep on this one. It's a rare find that's just waiting for its next caretaker to make some memories. 3. We've got a real treat here. A 1963 Dodge Dart GT that's begging for some attention. This isn't just any old Dart. We're talking about a one-year-only model with that unique 63 grille. And at $4,050, it's priced to move. Now let's be real here. This Dart isn't a showroom-ready beauty, but that's part of its charm. It's a survivor, folks, a blank canvas waiting for your vision. With 127,500 miles on the clock, it's got some stories to tell. But don't let that scare you off. Under the hood, you've got the larger 225 cubic inch slant 6. These engines are known for their reliability and torque, perfect for cruising or as a base for something more potent if you're feeling adventurous. The seller's being upfront about this being a clean survivor, and that's music to a true enthusiast's ears. Located in Central Oregon, this Dart has managed to dodge, pun intended, the rust bullet that plagues so many classics. It's a solid starting point whether you want to keep it original or turn it into a custom hot rod. Now, $450 might seem steep for a car that needs some love, but remember, this is a rare bird. The '63 Dart GT was the cream of the crop in its day, available as a hardtop or convertible. It was Dodge's bestseller that year, and finding one in restorable condition isn't easy. The seller's offering to restore it for you, with prices starting around $20K, but the sky's the limit if you want to go all out. Personally, I think half the fun is doing the work yourself, but it's nice to have options. Look, if you're in the market for a unique project car with tons of potential, this Dart deserves a serious look. It's got a clean title, it runs and drives, and it's a piece of Mopar history. Whether you keep it stock or turn it into a tire-shredding monster, this '63 Dart GT could be the start of something beautiful. Don't let this opportunity dart away from you. 4. We've got a sweet 1978 Chevy Camaro on the market for $11,000, and let me tell you, this one's a real head-turner. Now, I've got to be straight with you. The seller claims this bad boy is in excellent condition, and from the description, it sounds like they're not exaggerating. With only 30,000 miles on the clock, this Camaro has clearly been babied. That's practically new for a car that's over 4 decades old. Let's talk about what makes this '78 Camaro special. The sellers put some serious work into the front end, and I mean serious. We're talking a new tubular front end with drop spindles, which not only looks cool, but improves handling too. Everything up front is new and upgraded, so you're getting modern performance in a classic package. But it doesn't stop there. This Camaro's got a rebuilt and balanced drive shaft with new U-joints, fresh brakes, rotors, and sway bars. That means this beauty isn't just for show. It's ready to hit the road and perform. Step inside and you're greeted with a nice interior, including a good headliner, which is often a weak point in older cars. The dash has been upgraded with new gauges, giving you better feedback and a more modern look. And let's not forget those power windows, a luxury touch that wasn't standard on all '78 Camaros. Now, the seller doesn't mention the engine specifics, but they do say it runs strong. Given the care that's gone into the rest of the car, I'd bet this Camaro's got plenty of get up and go. One of the best parts? No rust. For a car from the '70s, that's like finding a unicorn. It means this Camaro has either been stored well or has lived in a dry climate. At $11,000, this isn't the cheapest '78 Camaro you'll find, but considering the low mileage, the upgrades, and the apparent excellent condition, it's a solid deal for someone who wants a turnkey classic that's ready to cruise or show. Look, if you're in the market for a classic Camaro that's been loved and upgraded, this '78 deserves your attention. It's got the style of the '70s with some modern touches that make it a joy to drive. Whether you're looking to hit up car shows, cruise nights, or just enjoy a piece of American muscle car history, this Camaro could be your ticket to automotive bliss. Don't sleep on this one, folks. Clean, well-maintained second-gen Camaros like this don't come around every day. 5. We've got a real piece of American automotive history here. A 1957 Cadillac sedan DeVille that's up for grabs at $14,000. Now, let's be real with you folks, because that's how we roll. This '57 DeVille isn't a showroom queen, and the seller's up front about that. They're calling it fair condition and describe it as looking good from 30 feet away. That's code for, it's got some issues, but it's still got presence. And let's face it, even a rough '57 Caddy has more style than most modern cars on their best day. Under that mile-long hood, you've got the original 365 cubic inch V8, which is about 6.0 liters in today's speak. That's a lot of Detroit iron, folks. The transmission's been rebuilt, which is a big plus, and they've upgraded to Willwood front disc brakes. That means this land yacht will actually stop when you need it to. A nice modern touch on a classic ride. Now here's the good news. This DeVille runs, drives, and stops. The seller says they cruise it around town regularly, so it's not just a pretty paperweight. All the power windows work too, which is honestly impressive for a 66-year-old car. But let's not sugarcoat it. This Caddy's got some quirks. The seller mentions it'll cruise at 60 mph on the highway, but doesn't like hills. That's classic old car behavior, folks. And with the odometer having rolled over, we're looking at a car with some serious miles on it. The asking price of $14,000 might seem steep for a car in fair condition, but remember, we're talking about a '57 Cadillac here. These aren't exactly growing on trees, and finding one that's actually drivable isn't easy. Is this the car for a concours d'elegance? Nah. But if you're looking for a weekend cruiser with tons of style and presence, this could be your ticket. It's a rolling project, something you can drive and enjoy while you slowly bring it back to its former glory. Look, if you've always dreamed of owning a piece of 1950s Americana, this '57 DeVille deserves a look. It's got its flaws, sure, but it's also got character by the boatload. Just imagine rolling up to your local cruise night in this beast. You'll be the talk of the town. 6. We've got a real diamond in the rough here, a 1969 Pontiac Firebird that's just begging for some love. This bad boy's on the market for $15,000 or $6,500 OBO if you're feeling generous. And let me tell you, it's got potential written all over it. Now, let's get one thing straight, this ain't no cream puff. This Firebird's more of a project than a cruise-ready classic. But hey, that's where the fun begins, right? Under the hood, you've got the original 350 engine paired with a manual transmission. That's a combo that'll make any true enthusiast's heart skip a beat. It starts, it runs, but don't expect to be burning rubber just yet. Here's the deal. This bird needs some serious TLC. We're talking a new back window, some bodywork, a fresh carpet kit, and a water pump that's begging for attention. The seller's even suggesting you bring a trailer. Translation? This Firebird ain't flying home under its own power just yet. But here's where it gets exciting. For the right person, this is an opportunity to breathe new life into a piece of American muscle history. Imagine rolling up to your local car show in a '69 Firebird that you restored with your own two hands. That's the stuff of gearhead dreams, folks. Sure, $15K might seem steep for a car that needs work. But in today's classic car market, finding a '69 Firebird with its original engine isn't exactly an everyday occurrence. Plus, with the manual trans, you're looking at a setup that's getting rarer by the day. So, here's the bottom line. If you're looking for a weekend cruiser that's ready to hit the streets, keep scrolling. But if you've got the skills, the patience, and the vision to see this project through, this Firebird could be your ticket to muscle car paradise. Just remember, folks, this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. But when you're finally cruising down Main Street, windows down, that Pontiac V8 rumbling, you'll know it was all worth it. So, who's ready to give this Phoenix a chance to rise from the ashes? 7. We've got a real land yacht on our hands here, a 1979 Lincoln Continental Mark V, and it's up for grabs at $7,000 or best offer. This isn't just any old car, we're talking about the pinnacle of late '70s luxury and style. Now let's be real here. This Continental's got 91,454 miles on the clock, which isn't bad for a car pushing 45 years old. The seller claims it's in good condition, and they're saying everything's original. That's music to a classic car lover's ears, folks. Under that mile-long hood, you've got a big old V8 engine. These Mark V's were known for their smooth power delivery, perfect for cruising in style. The seller mentions it starts up every time, which is a good sign, but here's the catch. It needs some carburetor work. That's not uncommon for a car of this vintage, but it's something you'll want to factor into your plans. Inside, you're looking at what the seller describes as a really nice interior. These Continentals were known for their plush, comfortable cabins, so if it's still in good shape, that's a big plus. However, they mention it needs a vacuum, which could mean a few things. Maybe the climate control isn't working right, or there might be issues with some of the power accessories. It's something you'll want to check out. Now, $7,000 might seem like a lot for a car that needs some work, but remember what we're dealing with here. The Mark V was the last of the truly massive personal luxury coupes, and finding one in original condition isn't easy these days. Plus, with its clean title and relatively low mileage, this could be a great starting point for a restoration project. Look, if you're in the market for a unique classic that'll turn heads wherever you go, this Continental deserves a serious look. It's not perfect. It needs some mechanical attention and possibly some work on its vacuum systems. But imagine cruising down the boulevard in this beast once it's sorted out. You'll feel like a 1970s movie star. Just remember, a car like this isn't for the faint of heart. It's big, it's thirsty, and it might need some TLC to get it running at its best. But if you've got the space in your garage and a passion for preserving a piece of automotive history, this '79 Continental Mark V could be your ticket to luxurious, old-school cool. Just be prepared for some funny looks at the gas pump. These babies weren't exactly known for their fuel efficiency. 8. We've got a sweet 1984 Pontiac Firebird on the market for $2,500, and let me tell you, this bird's ready to fly. First off, we're looking at a 3-owner car with only 90,000 original miles. That's practically nothing for a 40-year-old ride, folks. And get this, it's been living the good life in a climate-controlled garage for most of its existence. Talk about pampered. Under the hood, you've got that classic 305 V8 engine paired with a 5-speed manual transmission. That's a combo that'll put a smile on any gearhead's face. The seller says it's mechanically strong, which is music to our ears. Now, let's talk about the good stuff. This Firebird is rocking its original black and gold paint, and it's completely stock. That's rare for these cars, as many have been modified over the years. It's got those iconic T-tops that work and seal perfectly. No leaks here. Plus, it's rolling on collector plates, which is a nice bonus. Inside, most of the electronics are working like a charm. Lights, turn signals, radio, windows, and even the AC, though it needs a Freon recharge. It comes with the original owner's manual, some maintenance records, and even a leather storage bag for the T-tops. Talk about attention to detail. But let's be real, no 40-year-old car is perfect. The seller's been upfront about a few issues. There are some small scratches in the paint and front bumper, cracked window weather strips, and a cracked center console. The passenger side seat belt doesn't retract, and there are a few other minor quirks. But honestly, for a car of this age, these are pretty minor issues. At $2,500, this Firebird isn't the cheapest '84 you'll find, but it might be one of the cleanest. With its low mileage, good maintenance history, and mostly original condition, this is a great opportunity for someone who wants a slice of '80s muscle car glory without taking on a major project. Look, if you're in the market for a classic Firebird that you can actually drive and enjoy right away, this '84 deserves your attention. It's got enough patina to show its age proudly, but it's clean enough to turn heads at any car show. Just imagine cruising down the strip with those T-tops off. That V8 rumbling. That's the stuff car guy dreams are made of. 9. All right, let's talk about this 1976 Cadillac Eldorado convertible. It's on sale for $7,450, and it's definitely a project car. The good stuff first. It's got a massive 500 cubic inch V8 engine, which is pretty cool. The seller thinks it might be fuel injected, and it starts up smoothly. It's got 113,000 miles on it, which isn't terrible for a car this old. Plus, it has a clean Colorado title, so no paperwork headaches. Now for the not-so-good. This Caddy's been sitting for a while, and it shows. The gas in the tank is old and needs to be replaced. The tires are in really bad shape. You'll need new ones before you can safely drive it. The convertible top needs to be replaced too, which isn't a cheap fix. Is $7,450 a good price? Well, these convertible Eldorados are getting harder to find, so it's not outrageous. But remember, you'll need to invest more money to get it road ready. This isn't a car for someone who wants to just hop in and drive. It's for someone who loves working on cars and has the time and money to restore it. If that's you, and you've always wanted a big, classic American convertible, this could be a fun project. Just know what you're getting into. 10. We've got a real gem here, a 1979 Buick Riviera that's turning heads at $12,500. Now let's dive into this slice of late 70s luxury, shall we? First off, we're looking at a car that's apparently in excellent condition, both inside and out. That's not something you hear every day about a 44-year-old vehicle. With only 51,100 original miles on the clock, this Riviera has barely broken in its 8-cylinder engine. That's lower mileage than some cars half its age. Now, let's talk about what makes this '79 Riv special. It's a 2-door hardtop, which means you get that sleek, pillarless look when the windows are down. Pure class, folks. And check this out. It's still rocking the stock AM/FM 8-track player. That's a time machine right there, ready to transport you back to the disco era. Inside, you're looking at power seats and air conditioning, luxury touches that were pretty swanky for 1979. The seller claims the interior is in excellent shape, which is fantastic news. These old Buicks had some pretty plush interiors when they were new, so if it's well preserved, you're in for a treat. On the outside, it's sporting a black paint job. When done right, black can make a car like this look absolutely stunning. It really accentuates those long, sleek lines that the '79 Riviera was known for. Now, $2,500 might seem like a hefty price tag, but let's put this in perspective. Finding a '79 Riviera in excellent condition with such low mileage isn't an everyday occurrence. These cars are becoming increasingly rare, especially in well-preserved condition. But here's where I've got to keep it real with you folks. Even a car described as excellent at this age is likely to need some attention. While the seller doesn't mention any issues, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection. Check for any hidden rust, make sure all the electronics are working, and give that engine a good listen. Look, if you're in the market for a unique classic that combines luxury and style, this '79 Riviera deserves your attention. It's not the muscle car some might be looking for, but it's a perfect cruiser for those who appreciate the finer things in automotive life. 11. We've got a real gem here, a 1975 Cadillac Eldorado Coupe that's up for grabs at a jaw-dropping $4,800. Now, let's dive into this slice of '70s luxury, shall we? First off, we're talking about a car that's been sleeping for decades. This big beauty was tucked away in indoor storage back in 1986 and only woke up from its slumber in 2022. That's some serious time capsule stuff, folks. Now let's talk numbers. This Eldo's got 105,000 miles on the clock, which isn't too shabby for a 48-year-old land yacht. And get this, the seller claims there's no rust. In the world of classic cars, that's like finding a unicorn. Inside, you're looking at what's described as excellent leather interior. If that's true, it's a testament to the benefits of long-term indoor storage. Just imagine sinking into those plush seats. It's like sitting in your living room, but with wheels. On the outside, this Caddy's sporting a fresh coat of hot rod black paint. That's a bold choice that can really make a car like this pop. And here's a quirky detail that made me chuckle. The hood hinges still hold the hood up. It's the little things, right? Now here's where it gets interesting. The seller mentions a Haggerty appraisal of $10,000 USD. If that's legit, then $4,800 starts to look like a steal. But remember, appraisals and real-world values can be two different beasts. But let's keep it real here, folks. This car sat for 36 years. While that protected it from the elements, it also means you're likely looking at a lot of rubber and plastic parts that have deteriorated over time. Seals, hoses, gaskets, all that stuff might need attention. And don't forget, you're dealing with '70s technology here. It might run, but it probably won't drive like a modern car. Still, at $4,800, this Eldorado is priced more like a used Corolla than a classic Cadillac. If you've got the skills or the budget to address any issues that pop up, this could be an incredible entry into the world of classic luxury cars. 12. We've got a 1980 Pontiac Firebird formula with T-tops that's begging for some attention. This blue beauty is up for grabs at $7,000, and let me tell you, it's got some stories to tell. First off, let's talk about the good stuff. This bird's only flown 40,000 original miles. That's practically nothing for a 43-year-old car. It's packing a 4.9-liter V8 under the hood, which might not be the biggest engine they offered, but it's still got some grunt. Those T-tops, pure 80s coolness right there, and check out that rear spoiler. It's ready to party like it's 1980 all over again. Now, the seller's been pretty upfront about this Firebird's condition, and I've got to respect that honesty. It's not all sunshine and burnouts with this one, folks. We've got a laundry list of issues to address. The windshield's cracked, the hood's got a sticky hinge, and the driver's side door handle needs replacing. The paint's seen better days, with peeling in places. Inside, we've got some dashboard bulbs out, a non-working ceiling light, and a rear seat that needs reupholstering. Oh, and hope you're not an 8-track fan, because that player's given up the ghost. But here's the thing, at $7,000, this isn't priced like a show car. It's priced like a project with potential. The seller even hints that a little work and it will more than double in value. Now, I'd take that with a grain of salt, but there's no denying that clean, low-mileage Firebirds from this era are getting harder to find. Look, if you're in the market for a turnkey classic that's ready for the car show circuit, this ain't it, Chief. But if you've got some mechanical skills and a vision for what this Firebird could be, it might be worth a look. Imagine cruising down the strip, T-tops off, that V8 rumbling. Once you've addressed the issues, of course. It's not going to be a quick or cheap project, but it could be a rewarding one for the right enthusiast. 13. We've got a 1977 Chevy Corvette on the block for $8,900, and this isn't your average C3. Let's dive into this orange beauty and see what we're dealing with. First off, we're looking at a car that's been given some serious love under the hood. It's packing a built 350 V8, which means someone's put some time and money into making this Vetta growl. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and 4.10 rear gears, this thing's set up for some serious acceleration. If you're into chirping the tires through a couple of gears, this might be your new best friend. Now, the seller's being upfront about the car's condition, which I appreciate. They're calling it good overall, both inside and out. That's pretty solid for a car that's pushing 46 years old. But let's keep it real. They're also mentioning that it needs a new clutch. That's not a small job, folks. You're looking at some serious work or a hefty mechanic's bill to get that sorted. The seller also mentions minor things typical of a 40-plus-year-old car. That's a bit vague, but it's also honest. With any classic, especially one from the 70s, you're going to have little quirks and issues pop up. It's part of the charm and the frustration. At $8,900, this Corvette isn't the cheapest 77 you'll find, but it's not outrageous either, especially considering the built engine. The 4.10 gears and manual trans make this a more desirable setup for enthusiasts who actually want to drive their classic. Look, if you're in the market for a C3 Corvette that's got some attitude, this could be a great option. It's not a trailer queen or a museum piece. It's a car that's meant to be driven and enjoyed. Just be prepared to put some work into it, starting with that clutch. Imagine cruising down the strip in this orange beast, rowing through the gears that built 350 rumbling. It's the stuff car guy dreams are made of. Just remember, owning a classic like this is a labor of love. It'll demand your time, money, and patience, but the rewards can be incredible. 14. All right, buckle up because I've got more to say about this sweet 78 Eldorado Biarritz. Let's dive deeper into what makes this car special. The Biarritz trim was the pinnacle of luxury for Cadillac back in the day, and this baby's got the goods to prove it. That 425 cubic inch, 7.0L V8 engine was a powerhouse in its time, churning out smooth, effortless power perfect for cruising in style. And speaking of style, can we talk about that iconic Eldorado design? Long, low, and wide. This car's got presence that'll turn heads wherever you roll. Now, I gotta give props to the seller for being upfront about the car's condition. They're not trying to pull a fast one here. Yeah, there are some rough spots on the body, but that's par for the course with a 45-year-old car, especially at this price point. The key is that the bones are good. Solid frame and floors mean you're not looking at a rust bucket nightmare. I'm stoked to hear they've replaced the fillers. If you know these old caddies, you know those plastic body fillers can be a real pain, so that's a big plus. The new carb is another great touch, should help keep that big V8 running smooth. Let's talk about that ASC moonroof for a sec. American Sunroof Company did some seriously cool custom work back in the day, and having that option on an already luxurious Eldorado? Chef's kiss. It's details like that that make these classics so special. Now, I know some folks might scoff at front-wheel drive on a big luxury car, but Cadillac was ahead of the curve here. It gives you better traction in nasty weather and frees up a ton of interior space. Trust me, you and your buddies will appreciate that room when you're cruising to a car show or just hitting the town. Speaking of cruising, That's what this car is all about. The seller nails it when they say, from the driver's seat, nothing behind you matters. This isn't some garage queen meant to sit under a cover. It's a driver's car, meant to be enjoyed on the open road. Fire up that V8, let the automatic transmission do its thing, and just soak in that classic American luxury vibe. 15. Let's talk about this killer 1985 Chevy Monte Carlo that's up for grabs at $15,000. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a chunk of change for an 85, but hold on to your hats because this ain't your grandpa's Monte Carlo. First off, this bad boy's been given some serious love. We're talking a 350 engine with a performance cam and only 18K miles on the rebuilt power plant. That's barely broken in for a small block Chevy. The sellers dropped it an inch with new springs, giving it that perfect stance. And check out that paint job. They've ditched the original maroon for a slick black that'll have you feeling like the bandit himself. Inside, it's all business with SCAT 90 bucket seats, a new dash cluster, and a classic audio radio for that perfect blend of old-school cool and modern touches. The BM Mega Shifter lets you bang through the gears of that 2004R transmission, which has been modded for better shift performance. Under the hood, it's got all the goodies: Flowtech ceramic headers, a 2.5 exhaust, a high-torque mini starter, and a beefy aluminum radiator with dual electric fans to keep things cool. Rolling on American Racing Outlaw 2 wheels wrapped in Cooper Cobra rubber, this Monte's got the look to match its performance. Now, I've got to be straight with you. 168K original miles isn't low, but with the engine rebuild at 150K and all the upgrades, this Monte's been given a new lease on life. The sellers put in the work, replacing all the ball joints and even redoing the interior with new carpet and a recovered dash. Is 15K a lot for a Monte Carlo of this vintage? Sure, if it was stock. But this is a turnkey hot rod that's ready to cruise or show. You're getting a classic 80s muscle car silhouette with modern performance upgrades and comfort. For the right buyer who appreciates the work that's gone into this build, it could be a steal. Bottom line, if you're looking for a Monte Carlo that stands out from the crowd and has the go to match the show, this black beauty deserves a serious look. Just be prepared for the attention and the temptation to lay rubber at every stoplight. 16. Let me tell you about this gem I just spotted on Craigslist. A 1962 Studebaker GT Hawk priced at $7,900. Now, if you're into unique American classics, this one's gonna make your heart skip a beat. First off, let's talk about what makes the GT Hawk special. This was Studebaker's attempt to breathe new life into their Hawk line, and boy did they succeed. The 62 GT Hawk got a sleek redesign courtesy of Brooks Stevens, giving it a more modern look that still turns heads today. Under the hood, we've got Studebaker's own 289 V8 engine. It might not be a horsepower monster by today's standards, but it's got plenty of grunt for cruising and that unmistakable V8 rumble. Paired with an automatic transmission, it's a smooth operator perfect for laid-back drives. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This isn't a pristine show car. The seller's honest about that, and I appreciate it. They describe it as looking good but not show quality, which is perfect if you want a classic you can actually drive and enjoy without worrying about every little scratch. Speaking of driving, the seller says it starts, drives, stops. Music to any classic car lover's ears. With 72,000 miles on the odometer, it's got some life experience, but still plenty of road ahead. Here's where it gets interesting. The car needs some electrical work. But hold on, because the seller's throwing in new wiring harnesses with the sale. That's a huge plus for anyone looking to tackle that job themselves or have a shop do it right. The white paint gives it a clean, classic look, and that GT Hawk body style is just timeless. Inside, you're getting that vintage Studebaker charm, and there's even a replacement padded dash included if you want to freshen up the interior. Now, let's talk value. At $7,900, or best offer, you're getting a lot of car for the money. These GT Hawks aren't as common as some other classics from the era, so you're guaranteed to stand out at any car show or cruise night. The seller's including some great extras too. Owner's manual, repair manual, and even a GT Hawk history booklet. Plus, you're getting a current Studebaker driver's vendor issue, which is gold if you need to source parts. 17. Let's talk about this 1976 Oldsmobile Omega that's up for grabs at $5,900. Now I know what you're thinking, an Omega? But hear me out, because this little slice of 70s Americana might just surprise you. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. The Omega was Oldsmobile's version of the Chevy Nova, and it's not exactly the first car that comes to mind when you think classic. But that's what makes it cool. You'll stand out at car shows because everyone and their brother has a Chevelle or a Camaro. Now let's dig into what makes this particular Omega interesting. The seller's done some serious work under the hood. We're talking a rebuilt 350 cubic inch V8 engine paired with a rebuilt 350 turbo hydromatic transmission. That's a rock-solid powertrain combo that's known for reliability and decent performance. Plus, with a new exhaust system, this Olds should have a nice, throaty rumble. The odometer shows 100,000 miles, but with those rebuilt mechanicals, it's got plenty of life left. The seller says it runs great, and here's a big plus. It passes smog. That's huge for a car of this vintage, especially if you're in a state with strict emissions laws. Visually, we're looking at a white paint job. The 76 Omega had those classic 70s lines, not as swoopy as its bigger Cutlass cousin, but still with plenty of character. The seller describes the condition as good, which likely means it's presentable but not perfect. That's ideal for a classic you actually want to drive and enjoy without stress. Now, I've got to be straight with you. $5,900 isn't chump change for an Omega. These weren't high-dollar collector cars for a long time. But the market for 70s cars is heating up, and finding one with major mechanical work already done isn't easy. Plus, you're getting a clean title, which is always a relief with older vehicles. Here's the bottom line. If you're looking for an affordable entry into classic car ownership, or you want something different that'll turn heads simply because people don't see them often, this Omega could be a solid choice. It's not going to win any drag races stock, but it's a comfortable cruiser with that classic V8 burble. And with the mechanical refreshing already done, you can focus on enjoying the car rather than immediately diving into major repairs. So 18. Let's talk about this intriguing 1965 Chevy Corvair Corsa that's up for grabs at $10,000. Now, if you're into unique classics with a bit of a twist, this one might just tickle your fancy. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. This Corvair Corsa doesn't have its original engine. The seller's upfront about that, which I really appreciate. But don't let that scare you off, because there's still a lot to love here. The Corvair was Chevy's answer to the VW Beetle, with that quirky rear-engine air-cooled setup. And the Corsa? That was the hot rod of the Corvair line, usually packing a turbocharged flat six. Now we don't know what engine's in there now, but the seller says it runs, drives, stops great, which is music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. Speaking of running great, they've just had the engine and transmission resealed. That's a big deal with these air-cooled motors. Keeping the oil where it belongs is crucial. Plus, you're looking at new tires and brakes, so two major maintenance items are already checked off your list. The seller's honest that it's definitely not a race car, but describes it as a fun little weekend cruiser. And isn't that what most of us want in a classic anyway? Something cool to take out on sunny Saturdays, turning heads and having a blast without breaking the bank. Now let's talk about the Corvair's unique charms. That sleek, European-inspired body style was way ahead of its time in the mid-60s. It's the kind of car that still looks fresh today, especially in that green paint. And with the manual transmission, you'll get to really engage with the driving experience. At $10,000, it's priced in that sweet spot where you're getting a distinctive classic that's ready to drive, but not so expensive that you'll be afraid to use it. Sure, it's not numbers matching, but that also means you can modify and enjoy it without guilt. Here's the bottom line. If you're looking for a cool, quirky classic that stands out from the sea of Mustangs and Camaros, this Corvair Corsa deserves a serious look. It's got style for days, a unique driving experience, and it's ready to hit the road. Just be prepared for lots of questions at car shows and gas stations. These Corvairs always draw a crowd. Remember, the seller wants texts only if you're interested. So if this rear-engine beauty has caught your eye, don't hesitate to reach out. Who knows? You might just drive home in one of the most interesting American cars of the 1960s. 19. Let's talk about this 1982 Chevy Corvette that's up for grabs at $9,900. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This one's a bit of a mixed bag, but it might just be the project car you've been dreaming of. First, the good news. This 82 Vetta's got a fresh paint job in a slick blue that's sure to turn heads. With only 66,000 miles on the clock, the body's probably in decent shape for its age. And let's be real, the C3 Corvette is still one of the sexiest silhouettes ever to roll out of Detroit. But here's where it gets interesting, and why the seller's asking a relatively low price for a Corvette. They're upfront about the fact that there's some serious engine noise going on, likely a rod knock. Now, for a lot of folks, that'd be a deal breaker. But if you're handy with a wrench or know a good mechanic, this could be your ticket to Corvette ownership at a fraction of the usual price. The 82 model year is actually pretty special for Corvette enthusiasts. It was the last year of the C3 body style and the first year for the Crossfire injection system. So you're getting a piece of Corvette history here. Now, I've got to be real with you. Fixing that engine isn't going to be cheap or easy. You're probably looking at a rebuild or even a replacement, but here's the silver lining. With the engine out, you've got a perfect opportunity to upgrade. Always dreamed of dropping an LS motor into a classic Vetta? This could be your chance. The automatic transmission might not excite the purists, but it does make for easy cruising once you've got the power plant sorted. And with a clean title, you won't have any paperwork headaches to deal with. Here's the bottom line. At $9,900, this isn't a turnkey classic you can drive home and show off immediately. It's a project, plain and simple. But for the right person, someone who's not afraid of a challenge and sees the potential in this blue beauty, it could be an incredible opportunity. You'd be hard-pressed to find another C3 Corvette with this kind of potential at this price point. Just remember, you're buying a car that needs serious work. Don't expect to win any races or car shows right off the bat. But if you've got the skills, or the budget, to bring this Vetta back to life, you could end up with a stunning classic that you've truly made your own. 20. Let me tell you about this sweet 1979 Lincoln Continental I just spotted on Craigslist for $12,1050. Now, if you're into land yachts from the Malaise era, this baby's gonna make you weak in the knees. First off, let's talk about that mileage. Only 49,000 miles. For a 44-year-old car, that's practically brand new. It's like this Continental's been waiting all these years just for you to cruise it down the boulevard. Under the hood, we've got Ford's trusty 400 cubic inch V8. It might not be a tire-shredding monster, but it's got plenty of smooth power to move this luxurious beast down the road. And speaking of moving, the seller says it runs and drives great. Music to any classic car lover's ears. Now here's where it gets even better. The owner just took this Lincoln on a cross-country road trip. That's a serious vote of confidence in its reliability. I mean, who doesn't dream of cruising across America in a classic land yacht like this? The white paint gives it that classic stately look that Lincolns are known for. And with new tires, you're all set for many more miles of smooth sailing. They've even updated the stereo so you can blast your favorite tunes while you're living the Continental life. At $12,950, you're getting a lot of car for your money. These big Lincolns are like rolling living rooms. Tons of space, cushy seats, and enough presence to turn heads wherever you go. Plus, with the relatively low miles and recent cross-country trip, you know it's been well maintained. Now, I've got to be straight with you. A car this old is always going to need some love. But the seller describes it as in excellent condition, which is promising. Just remember, excellent for a 44-year-old car doesn't mean factory fresh. Bottom line, if you're looking for a classic American luxury car that you can actually drive and enjoy without breaking the bank, this '79 Continental deserves a serious look. It's got style, comfort, and a proven track record of reliability. Just be prepared for some curious onlookers and thumbs up from fellow gearheads wherever you go. Oh, and maybe budget a bit extra for gas. These big V8s aren't exactly known for their fuel economy.